for everything.
Alhamdulillah.
We know Allah, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, everything God gave me.
You know, aim for the stars. If you got a dream, if you got a passion, I would say go and make it happen, because no one's gonna just give you a helping hand. No one can make it happen for you. You've got to do it. You've got to do the networking. You've got to reach out to people. You've got to be persistent. We were told at 9 and 10 that we would never make it. So we were thinking, you're on about, we're decent. We're going to actually, you know what I mean? We're going to actually prove you wrong. And our whole life as young players, it was just try and prove this one person wrong to show that it can happen. You know, have that dream, write the dream down, write the goals down. You know, so in 5 years' time, if you want to be a professional footballer, or if you want to work in the game with a full-time coach, you've got to write down what the end goal is, and you got to break it down.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Amin, and I'm with the NH2 podcast, and today I've got a very special guest, Riz. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
No, thank you for having me.
How are you? Good?
Yeah, good man.
Good. Obviously, I'm sure all of you have heard about Riz Rehman and the work he's done, but if you haven't, do you want to tell us what you do?
Yeah, so currently I work for the PFA, which is the Professional Football Association. I'm the Player Inclusion Executive there, so a lot of my work involves working with first team players, delivering EDI workshops, but also run a program called AIMS, which is our Asian Inclusion Mentoring Scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So my day-to-day is running that and delivering the workshops.
That's good. And can you tell us a bit about your journey and what inspired you to start doing this work?
Yeah, so I started playing football when I was about 8 or 9. So my dad, growing up in Birmingham, my dad loved football. And, you know, he was always, through his, obviously, childhood and, you know, when he coming to me from Pakistan to Birmingham, he supported Villa. So when we were 8 and 9, he used to take us to Villa Park, and me and my brother Zesh, we both got a passion for the game there. Started playing grassroots football around about 9, so I started pretty late. And it really started from there. You know, we played for our school team, played for our Saturday team, Sunday team. Just loved the game. You know, everywhere we played in the house, whether it was in the garden, everything was a football pitch for us. You know, smashing a few windows in the house, which my parents weren't happy about with. But we just wanted to be footballers. So I played from grassroots. And then at 12 or 13, I think it was, we moved to London.
Yep.
Then when I came to London, we used to write letters to other clubs, you know, around London. In fact, anywhere in the country, just asking for a trial. Because we just couldn't get in. And, you know, and all we wanted to do was become professional footballers. Especially when you get a bit older, you see football on the TV and you think, you know what, why can't I get there as well? Playing for my school team, Saturday team, and then we got trials at Fulham. So me and Zesh both went there. We both signed for Fulham, and at 14 I got released, went to Brentford, did my scholarship there. You know, then broke my leg when I was 17. So I was out for a year with that, but came back from that, got a professional contract, and then but my leg when I was playing didn't really feel the same again. So I sort of came out the game, went to university. Did a 4-year course, did a sports science degree, did my coaching badges through the PFA as well. So I got my B licence, and I just started working in community trust, working for Fulham, Chelsea Foundation, just to get some, on Saturdays on my days off, just get a bag of balls, going to schools, delivering sessions, and just trying to help kids get into football. And then I started working for the PFA, and here I am today.
That's good. And I remember growing up, because I obviously come from a similar background, you know, parents from abroad immigrating here, and I grew up on a council estate, so every Wednesday night Chelsea Foundation actually used to come to our kind of local pitch and, like you said, bring balls and play and try and get us to play football instead of going out, you know, on the streets, possibly getting influenced by crime or whatever. So that's helped me a lot, because growing up, I've loved football obviously, and it's helped me not get distracted by, you know, other things that can harm me. So it's helped me. It's obviously helped a lot of people. And you mentioned also playing with Brentford. How's that like back before they, you know, got to the Premier League and things like that? Do you want to talk about
Brentford was a really good club. So when I left Fulham, I started playing back for my Sunday league team, and I was just enjoying football. And then I got a trial at Brentford when I was under 15, so I was 14, 15 at the time. And it's one of the best clubs I ever went to. You know, when I did get a scholarship at 16, there's actually 4 players in the youth team at Brentford, and there were 4 Asian players actually, and Nevin Surrey, who, you know, works with me at the PFA as a coach educator. So never someone who I looked up to. And again, back then we didn't really talk about lack of Asians in football. You know, but Brentford was brilliant. We used to train at Tolworth Rec. You know, the facilities and what they've got now is nowhere near what it was like back then. You know, the amount of support staff you see at clubs back then. And my coach was also the physio, and so I think also was the kit man as well. You know, we would get there early in the mornings. We'd help the coach make lunches for everyone. It was like a really family club, and it still is a family club. But obviously, with the amount of money that's gone into the game now, you know, everything's just been upgraded in terms of training and the equipment and the analysis and the sports scientists. Now there's a lot more support for players than there were back then.
Yeah, that's good. And also, like you said, you work in the South kind of Asian AIMS kind of group, and why do you think they're underrepresented in grassroots football and working their way up the pitch?
Yeah, I think that there's probably that reason's probably multifaceted, as you can imagine. I asked that question quite a lot, and I think what we need to really just see is just more South Asians just playing football. You know, I'm not sure if, I know numbers are quite good in terms of participation, but I'm not sure if we're actually seeing South Asian kids playing in competitive football. So they'll play recreational football, you know, around goals, etc. But what we really need to see is them playing from a young age, and then starting playing competitive football in teams, you know, from 9, 10, 11, and playing in good leagues. So if parents don't know what leagues to go to, maybe they can go to the local county FA, speak to other people who they know who are maybe in the professional game, and find out from them like what leagues they played in. Because a lot of scouts and a lot of clubs will recruit players from certain clubs in terms of the best leagues in that region. So until we see more kids playing at the grassroots football, competitive football, them numbers won't. Then those numbers will hopefully translate into the professional game as well.
Yeah, and what do you think steps have there been taken to get more young people involved? What have you done, and what have many other people done to increase that number and that proportion?
Yeah, I think a lot of good steps have been taken now. You know, a lot of the clubs, like you said, like Chelsea Foundation, a lot of clubs have a community trust side as well. So a lot of the clubs will go into primary schools, they'll put on coaching sessions, football sessions, just to make the kids aware that there are activities available to them outside of school. Not just the clubs, but the stakeholders, like the Premier League have their South Asian Action Plan, which every year puts on festivals, again, through the professional clubs and their community trust, where they try to get clubs to look at the best South Asian players in that region, and they'll do like qualifiers, and then they'll have a massive tournament at Loughborough University in the summer. Then the FA are launching their South Asian plan soon again, in I think this month actually, which would be good. So it's good to see what they're going to be doing in terms of that South Asian inclusion angle. And then obviously the PFA, you know, we've got our AIMS program. So the PFA's program is more for those kids, once they're signed by a club, once they come onto the elite pathway, then that whole mentoring support and opportunities are afforded to them through the PFA's work. Again, when you become a professional player, it's even more difficult as well, because the numbers are, it's so hard to become a professional player, and whether you're Asian, black, white, whatever your background is, you know, you just need to work hard, trust yourself, and there's going to be setbacks along the way, and a lot of the time it's dealing with those setbacks, which you know, could be the difference between someone really going on and having a career, or someone just wilting away and you know, feeling sorry for themselves.
Yeah, and speaking about players that have been signed, who are some players that you've worked with, you know, professionally or under 21 or youth players that have succeeded and also ones to look out for? Do you have a list of any or ones in your mind?
Yeah, no, I think since AIM started, so we started back in 2020, you know, there were young lads there, like Leif Golza at Brighton, Danny Iqbal at West Brom, Farhan Wahid at Fulham, even Arjan Reiki at Leicester City, Cameron Condola, who was at Wolves, now playing for Kidderminster Harriers, Brandon Keller plays for Birmingham City, alone at Bradford City, his brother Reese, who's at Leicester City. So there's good players at the time. A lot of these lads are now 17, 18, 19, but when I first contacted them, was in touch with them, they were on our program, you know, 5-6 years ago. So it's good to see their journey, see their progress. There's lots of players who have come on the program and are now out of the game. But when I say out of the game, not playing, but they're working in the game as well. So we've got young people who are going to university, you know, doing sports courses. We've got young people now working full time at clubs as well, whether it's coaching, administration. So it's not just, the support is not just for those currently playing, but also as they leave the game and transition, we help them into transition to different areas of football as well and sport in general.
That's good. And with your AIMS program, how long has that been? How many years has that been going on for?
So it launched in 2020.
Yeah.
So it was a 5-year strategy. We're now coming to the back end of the 5th year of the strategy. So the hope now is to write an impact report, and then next season, we'll start the work again. Probably add some new elements to it, but I feel like it's not just needed for South Asian players, but I think mentoring and support and that advice, guidance, mentorship is needed for all players. All players across the stages of the game as well. Because there's so many questions. As when you become a scholar at 16, that journey is never just straight. It's very, very bumpy
Bumps,
as well.
yeah.
So if we can start connecting players with those people who've had bumps, maybe they can start sharing their stories and let people realise that, they're not by themselves on that journey. So we just try to create that support networks around them as well.
And you said obviously you started 2020, so I'm guessing lockdown or after lockdown, before lockdown. And has there been any players that you've started with during 2020 or 2021 that are now, first team or pushing, really high in the sport?
Yeah, so we had Zidane Iqbal.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he's now obviously playing for FC Utrecht, I think it's FC Utrecht, in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Zidane was, 15, 16 at the time when he came on AIMS. It was actually through COVID. So when we first started the work, it was actually a lot of Zoom calls. Zidane, Arjan, Cameron Control, they were brilliant. Every week they would jump on calls. Every Friday we did a Zoom call at 7 p.m. and we'd have like 50, 60 young South Asian players and have a senior mentor like Danny Iqbal, Danny Bath, Zidane Iqbal, who would jump on calls and share their stories. And it would really help to infuse the younger players as well. So again, Zidane's doing well. Danny Bath at Blackburn just played his 500th career game, which again, obviously Danny's well known and still doing really well. Mal Benning at Shrewsbury, still playing. In fact, he's not too far now from his 500th career game. Whether it's this year, early next season, he should reach his milestone. But in terms of the younger players, I think we're still waiting. Brandon's just gone along to Bradford City, just signed for the club recently, last week. So hopefully he'll get a run of games. And if he can go on and play like 15, 20 games in the next couple of months, that would hopefully set him up for next season. That would hopefully inspire the younger ones below him to see that it's possible as well.
So they're the ones we should look out for. They're on the rise.
Yeah.
And obviously you've done a lot of mentoring, like you said, with your Zoom calls. Could you share a story where your mentorship's kind of impacted someone and had a good impact? Maybe they had some bumps and through those Zoom calls or through speaking to older players that they learnt and adapted.
Yeah, I think I'll share the story of Riz Rehman. So Hafs was a young player at Preston North End. And in 2017, when we first started the programme, I reached out to Haf and the club to make them aware of the programme. But before that, when he was 9, I actually went, because I got introduced to, I was interested in young Asian players in the game. So when he was, I can't remember what year it was exactly when he was 9, but I actually went to his house, met him, met his dad. My brother Zesh Rehman set up his foundation, the Zesh Rehman Foundation, and one of the aims was to help young South Asian players. So when Hafi started his scholarship in 2017, he done his ACL in his first year scholarship, and then the second year he came back from that, did it again. He had 2 scholarship injuries, and he was doing really, really well at the time at the club as well. And when he left the game after his release, I think he was telling himself he was a bit lost, because it's not easy once you're in the game from a young age and all your ambition is to become a professional player. Once that's taken away from you, you feel like it's the end of the road,
That's all you know, isn't it?
That's all you know, and it's like it's your identity, and when that's not there, and if you've got no one to lean on, no one to give you any support, like I never had that when I got released from Brentford. There's no one to say, Riz, what's your next step? This is what you should do. So I did that with Hafs. To be fair to him, he came down to London. We spent some time together. Put a plan for him, what it could look like. And 3-4 years on, he was working for Man City in the academy. Mm-hmm. He's actually now living out in Qatar, working for the Man City out in Qatar now as well, doing the academy stuff. So that was a good example of one person who, from nothing, high aspirations to coming out of the game, maybe a bit deflated, picking him back up, connecting him with other younger players. He's got his football program as well, which he does, his academy. So he does like one-on-one session with the players, which is really good as well. So again, he's like diversifying his offering, and he's now trying to help the next generation of young players.
Yeah. And what change would you like to see in the next 5-10 years? Because a lot of my viewers and on this channel, they're young, my age, 1 or 2 years younger, maybe older, from a range of backgrounds. What do you want to say to them that they could take from this, if they're footballers, aspiring footballers?
I'm going to say, aim for the stars. If you've got a dream, if you've got a passion, I would say go and make it happen, because no one's going to just give you a helping hand. No one can make it happen for you. You've got to do it. You've got to do the networking. You've got to reach out to people. You've got to be persistent, a bit like you are. Which you are persistent.
Thank you.
And I think, have that dream, write the dream down, write the goals down, and have a plan how you're going to get there, and break it down. So in 5 years' time, if you want to be a professional footballer, or if you want to work in the game as a full-time coach, you got to write down what the end goal is, and you got to break it down from where am I today, where have I got to be next week, next month, in 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 24 months, and then work and every day keep chipping at it as well, because we, again, my brother and myself, we were told at 9 and 10 that we would never make it in the game. My dad was doing his coaching badges, and the educator said to my dad, when my dad asked the question, why are there no Asian players? And he said, scared of the weather, got the wrong diet, the parents always pushed them towards education, not sport, always in the mosques. And he said, Riz, Zesh, you two are good players, but you got no chance. But your kids will have a better chance. And we were thinking, you're on about, we're decent, we're going to actually, we're going to actually prove you wrong. And our whole life as young players, it was just try and prove this one person wrong to show that it can happen. And then Zesh makes his debut for Fulham, running on at Anfield, and becoming one of the first South Asian players, Pakistani player to play in the Premier League. And he was told that he'll never make it in the game. So being persistent, showing resilience, I think that's key.
Yeah, that applies to life as well. Just keep pushing, set things up, goals, step by step. And let's talk about Zesh as well, your brother. You said first ever, South Asian, debuted Fulham. How's it like growing with him? And you saw him, progress a lot. You saw him a lot more than others, because you're his brother, obviously. So how's it like with Zesh, and what did he have to do to get to where he is? Yeah,
believe it or not, so when we were like in primary school, we had letters for our school, for the school, saying that there's the new league opening up, and if you want to have trials, your parents would fill this letter in and send it off to the Little League or Washington Heath Council. My dad actually filled the letter in, and my dad actually took it himself and made sure the letter got delivered. So we had trials every Saturday. We would go to Washington Heath Park in Birmingham. It was over like 3 or 4 weeks, and then after the trials, they'll write you a letter to let you know if you've been selected or not. So we had 2 letters to the door, one for me, one for Zesh. Zesh got selected. I never got selected. But then when he started training with his team, I went along, and the team was called the Reds in Birmingham, and so Zesh was actually playing up an age group, so you're playing my age group. But once the league's season started, that season Zesh didn't play at all. He was on the bench the whole season. I would play, and every Saturday after the game, he'll be in the car just crying because he didn't get on, because he wasn't good enough. So that was like when he was like 10. And then that summer, we just both just worked hard. And there's a change in Zesh. And when he went back the following season, he's like playing every week, he's scoring goals, and something just sort of clicked. And since then, he just kicked on. But it wasn't because he had this natural talent. Like I said, we started late, and at 10 he was rubbish. But we loved football, so every time in the house, we would just play football. Like every time we had a spare moment, we'd play football. Going to school, we walked with the football in the playground. It was football, and he had a habit of skill of doing kick-ups. So he would do keepy-uppies. And my dad said, "Look, if you get to 100, I'll give you £1. If you get to 200, you get £2." And then obviously we both have competition against each other. And he got to the point when he was like 12, he could do like 4,000 kick-ups, you know. So he was just literally always just keeping the ball close to his feet. The journey wasn't easy for him either, because when he was like 15, 16, he was going for a growth spurt when he was at Fulham. So going from the best player to probably the worst player, because obviously, you know, you look like Bambi on ice. But technically he was very, very good. When he started his scholarship at Fulham, Gian Tigana, the manager at the time, used to get Zesh to do all the like demonstrations with the first team, because technically he was like brilliant going through cones, and Fulham played that way, which was very much possession and technical side of things. But he had a good career. You know, played 500 career games across England, 5 different continents, I believe. You know, but again, into his education as well. So when I started working for the PFA and I saw the amount of different courses of the sport the PFA offer, I made sure that Zesh started his coaching badges. You know, he's doing a couple of degrees, doing a master's with FIFA as well, and now obviously he's enjoying his coaching down at Portsmouth. Won the league last year, and he just loves like developing players. So he's an individual development coach. Does lots and lots of individual stuff with the players and gives the support to the first team gaffer as well.
So obviously he was obsessed, and he just, like you said, he surrounded himself with the ball at all times, kiki uppies and everything. And like he talks about with the coaching as well, how he picked up all those roles, and he said earlier about you encouraging players to do things off the pitch as well. So like coaching or scouting or being a manager or this or that. Do you think that's important, because it could be like a second step, that if football doesn't work, they could do coaching or something like that?
100%. You know, Zesh is a great example to any player about planning for their life after football. So he got to the point with Zesh that when he was finishing his career, he couldn't wait to start coaching. That wasn't because he had enough of football, because he loved football, he loved playing it, but he was excited about the next step. And that whole transition probably took him around 10 years to get prepared for the next steps. So like I said, he was 27. Then when he started finishing I think he finished at 38, 39, he had his first role at Portsmouth Football Club as the under-18s lead coach. Did that for 6 months before stepping up into the first team, and he's now been the first team development coach at Portsmouth for nearly 2 years now, and recently reached his 100th game as a first team coach as well, which is a great milestone for Zesh. But again, it's been lots of sacrifice, you know, lots of travelling for him, because when he was doing his A licence and B licence for the Irish FA, the courses were in England and Ireland. He was living in Hong Kong, so again on his days off, and if he get time off in the summer, he wasn't wasting it on the beach, you know, in Tenerife having a good time. He was actually investing himself into the future as well. So when he does come to where he is now, he was actually expected it. So he expected to get a job. You know, he was expecting to have income coming in. He's got a young family as well, so that was important. And sometimes too many players and don't really think too far ahead in terms of that. They feel like it's going to last forever, but the game's very, very short, and it can be taken away, you know, the click of a finger as well. So I think having a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D is very important as well. So whether passion players, whether it's, you know, doing podcasts or if they want to be a physio, whatever it is, that the PFA, we've got so much support for players for them to go on and do that as well.
So is that the advice you'd give to people who want to stay in football but they may not make it professionally? Stick to something within the game, so you have your passion and also a living.
Yeah, I've got a couple of young people that I work with now who, you know, they did some work experience with me last year. One is my nephew Jassim and his friend Hasib, who came to the PFA with me for a week. They love what we were doing, gave them different experiences. And I say to them, you may never be a professional coach in the professional game, and you may never, you know, manage in the Premier League, but if you've got a passion for the game, do a course or something at university which is going to actually help you work in the game straight away. So whether it's sports scientist and becoming an analyst, you know, maybe be a physio, S&C, doctor, you know, there's so many now, whether it's accountancy, there's so many roles in the game. And so if you're at university, my advice really is start networking. You know, finding out with people. There's so many different ways of networking, you know, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. Connect people, reach out to people, make it happen, see if you can get some experiences, stay in touch with people. A lot of the times people will reach out, ask for, you know, an opportunity, go and meet the person, then there's no follow-up. So you don't want to become across like you only want someone. When you need someone, you message them. How do you maintain and how do you sustain that relationship over a long period of time as well, which is key.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking about university as well, you studied at university as well. How was it like doing that course, that's related to football, and what were your experiences?
Yeah, university for me was tough, if I'm honest. Came out the game when I was 20, and at 21, I found myself at Kingston College, all these young people, and I was thinking, like, what am I doing here? Do you know what I mean? 'Cause all I wanted to do was play football. Suddenly I'm on the 7th floor at Kingston College, and I was just thinking, I struggled in my first year, so I actually failed in my first year at college.
Yeah.
I actually got caught cheating in the exam, which was really embarrassing for me. But my head probably wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
Cut a long story short, I did the resit, I passed it. They accepted me onto the full course at Kingston University. Did, like I said, did sports science, and after the 3 years, I was the only student to come out with a first class degree. So again, I just put my head down. I knew I was competitive, so I didn't want to just go to university and get the same grades as everyone else. I was just thinking, whether you're my mate or not, whatever grade you got, I'm going to beat you. And I think that's the attitude to have, is to be the best, because there's so many people doing that course across the country, and I knew that, and I knew it would be competitive. So if I can go into interviews and show them that I got a first class degree and share my story like I just shared with you, it just shows that, I wasn't just getting by. I was only doing it because I knew that I wanted to be the best. And even now, everything I do at work, whether it's with the PFA, the AIMS program, or stuff with my brother or my coaching, I just want to make sure that I'm the best at it. And when I look back, there's no regrets. So yeah, I want to try and inspire people and help them to, like I said earlier, to go and reach for the stars and be the best they can be as well.
Yeah, that's good as well. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you're your friend or you just want to be the best, because it opens a lot more doors. And speaking about your course as well, sports science, what kind of doors did that open when you finished your course at university? What was the first thing you did after that?
Yes, at university, the sports science course was a good course, but I thought it was quite broad. And if anything, I'll be completely honest with you, when I came out of the game, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But what I did know is I wanted to stay and work in football somehow. And I think sports science, I love sports. I wasn't going to do an accountancy degree because I never had the grades. Although I had good GCSE, I got my BTEC through Brentford. I just did something which I thought would keep me happy. And although it was in hindsight, I look back now, it probably wasn't the best course to do because it's so broad. There's so many different elements to the course as well. I'd rather done something like a physio, so I know when I come out, I'm going to be a physio. But the course gave me the opportunity actually to do my dissertation, and I did a case study on my brother on Zesh's journey, so how a South Asian player becomes the first South Asian, one of the first South Asians to play in the Premier League. And I looked at the whole journey from a young player to starting for Fulham, and a lot of the key themes around that were around mentorship, parental advice, working with clubs. So everything my dissertation showed me and the recommendations actually linked into what I'm doing now at the PFA. So it wasn't like AIMS wasn't just all had an idea. It was all linked back to my study from 2017 and how I'm bringing that back into my work as well. But to be fair, university are really good. I'm actually still in touch with the university. I do go back a couple of times a year to talk to students about what it's like working in football. And like I said to you today, my main advice is actually making yourself visible to people, knocking on people's doors, and just making it happen yourself, because no one ever would just give it on a plate, But it's good to see a lot of the students I studied with, they're on LinkedIn, showing connections with people as well. But I think university is more about networking, I think, and creating relationships. And some of the relationships you just don't know where people end up, So again, it's good to stay in touch with people and maintain those relationships.
Yeah, and with obviously keeping your course related to your sport, do you think that helped you with the networking? Because you meet like-minded people that are in the sport, in football, and they may know someone, and that someone may know someone.
Yeah, it happens all the time in the game. A lot of people will get jobs through people that they know. If you make a good impression on someone if you give your time, if you do things voluntary, if you have different experiences. So when I finished university, I didn't just walk straight into a role. I actually went and worked in sales for a bit because I was quite a shy person, and I could be socially awkward. But when I started working in sales, it made me realise the importance of building relationships with people, getting to know people on a personal level, because you're only going to buy something of someone if you like them. Mm-hmm. So I literally used to have like half an hour, 20 minutes sometimes to make an impression before I had any chance of selling them anything. So again, I tell people to don't just finish university at 21 and walk straight into a role. Can you travel somewhere? Can you have different experiences? So when you do go for an interview, you can talk about the different stuff that you've done. It's not just all related to sport, all related to your sport-related course, and all related to football. Having different hobbies, I think, is important as well. Again, it's something to talk about, and it shows you as a young person that you like to diversify yourself. You're open to change as well. Because in any working environment, there'll always be changes. So how do you react with those as and when they happen?
That's true. And obviously, I'm a university student myself. I go to Loughborough. And like you said, with meeting a range of people, I try my best to do that, obviously, with the podcast channel and meeting everyone, saying hi. And someone I met, actually, who Anthony, I met him, obviously he's in one of my modules, human biology. And I was speaking to him about this channel, and he said that, he knows you helped him a lot. And do you remember Anthony? Do you know what things you did with him and how you helped him with football?
Yeah, I know Anthony very well. Cause I went to see Anthony when he was started his first year scholarship at Bolton, and I just went up to see him, introduce myself. So I do that all the time. So any player on AIMS, once they get a scholarship, and once they go from, leave school at 16 and going to full-time football, I like to go up there to spend some time with them, see how they've settled in. Just make their parents aware that I've gone up there as well. Touch base with their coaches. Then when I saw Anthony, he had quite a bad injury. He was recovering from a thigh strain, which probably didn't heal as much as he'd like to. So again, we just made sure that he got all the support from the PFA, St George's part would be sent him to for his rehab to make sure he came back fully recovered. And he was brilliant in terms of the mentoring side of things as well. He would really engage with the mentors. He worked closely actually with Zesh. And then he went out to play for Hong Kong, and Zesh played out in Hong Kong as well. I think he scored in his first game as well.
Yeah,
so again,
did, yeah.
But I knew Anthony, he was a very, very bright kid. So again, with him, when he got to the stage of his second year scholarship, we thought maybe because he didn't play many games due to his injury and lots of different setbacks, playing, getting injured, he always had a great attitude, and he was academically he was bright. So again, it was quite early on when we started thinking about what else could you be doing. Let's not think you're not going to get a professional contract, but if you don't, is there any harm in just applying for university and securing that for a September start? So if you don't get a contract, at least you know that you've got that in the background. I think that really helped, and that took the pressure off him a little bit. And it's happened with a few players actually, where in January, like this time of year, we'll start thinking about university, secure your place, and then concentrate on your football. If your football doesn't happen, at least you've got something to fall back onto as well. Because unless you're in the Premier League, chances are you're going to have to do something when you retire or when you finish anyway. Mm-hmm. And for young players, because the game is so competitive, and Anthony and his dad, brilliant to work with. And I'm still in touch with him now. I spoke to Anthony before Christmas. I know he went to Florida for a holiday, so I've not spoken to him since. So I'm sure he's back in university with you tomorrow. But yeah, so again, I would keep him involved on the programme and the events that I do. I'll make sure that he comes along. I think if you speak to him, you'll probably say that he's had lots of good experiences and support from the PFA as well.
Yeah, and speaking about university as well, obviously now it's 2025, it's very different to the periods of previous generations. And with universities, now they're offering obviously scholarships, so you can play the football alongside your course, and they kind of help balance the two. So do you think this is a big step and a big kind of aid for younger footballers so they could still play their game and get a degree just in case?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously Loughborough's a top university as well. You got Loughborough, and you got the few universities are well known. Hartpury University, I think, is another one that's well known for its football standard and the education offer to young players. So if Andy can go there, plays football, still represent Hong Kong, and at the same time get an education, I think you're winning. You know, there's opportunities in America as well, through scholarships. A lot of players will consider that as well. But I think with Anthony and where his family, I think he wanted to try and stay as close to home as possible. I know it's not that close from Leicester to Bolton, but you know, I think for him, if he can play at a good level, play for the university, but at the same time, maybe, you know, why not go and try like someone like Tamworth or Kidderminster Harriers, one of the local clubs. I think he's still got a chance to become a professional in the future as well, if he chooses to put the work in.
Yeah, and in general, is there any kind of other people who went through the education route while sticking to their football that you've worked with?
Yeah, so another young player actually who's at, is it Loughborough? What university is that now? But he used to be at Hull City.
Yeah.
He went on trial and played out in Korea for a couple of months.
Korea, yeah.
And he's doing a medical course. So again, there's sometimes, like the players, you'll find, and what I've sort of seen is like the South Asian players, they're really bright. And obviously, education is important for their families, and you know they've got the football ability, but the parents are also making sure that their kids are doing A levels. So when you become a scholar, you don't have to do A levels. So every scholar does the BTEC level 3 and leisure and advanced football education program, but the ones who show academically sound and good, they can do A levels, and there's some players doing 2 A levels plus the BTEC, you know, because they just don't want to waste any minute of any day. So it's good to see them doing that. So what they do know is, at the end of the 2-year scholarship, if they don't get a scholarship, they can push on to university, you know, and hopefully have a career in a different field as well. But at the same time, still play football if they want.
Yeah, that's good. It sets them up in the
present
and future as well.
Yeah. And the parents are really big, and the clubs are really good, to be fair. Like the football clubs, you know, you got player care staff now. You know, through the PFA, we did our AIMS experiences, so we did a lot of the players to like Sky Sports News behind the scenes, Football Manager behind the scenes. They came to the PFA offices, met a lot of our staff as well, so they could see what it looks like day to day in a business environment, and take them out of their comfort zones. Because in football, you're in your trackie, inside your club, you're really, really comfortable. Mm-hmm. But when you got to meet new people, you know, you got to travel to a place you've not been before, book a train ticket, book your route. Normally at clubs, they do it all for them. So we try and give them the onus and put all the ownership on them.
Independence, yeah.
Yeah, independence. A lot of time in the game, you know, everything's done for you. Players have finished their career, not even know where to go to join a doctor. So all the clubs have their own doctors. Players have any issues, they call the club doctor, and he sorts it out. So once you're at the game, you've got to do it yourself. So again, how can we start preparing them early on and make sure they take ownership of their careers as well?
Yeah, and linking back to the start, obviously, when you said you used to come and help the kit man at Brentford, you know, help them set up, do the lunches, whereas now it's kind of everything's taken care of for the players. So where do you think in the next 5 or 10 years it's heading for players and the interactions between staff and clients?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest issues, and I think it's like the mobile phones. You know, a lot of young people just spend hours and hours and hours on mobile phones. When we were growing up, I didn't have a phone until I was 17. I didn't want a phone. I didn't even think about it. But now it's like it's fashion, isn't it? You got young kids, young as 3 or 4 on their parents' phones or having their own tablets. So that's an issue that we're seeing with young people, not just in football. I think that's probably across the board as well, and probably education as well. So again, a lot of people, sometimes you can find it hard to have a conversation with young people because their attention span is not great. You know, they don't want to talk. They can be socially awkward at times. So I think once you start to put the phone down, maybe pick a book up or start going out, interacting with people, I think I think, you know, that personal touch, you know, it's important as well. You know, maybe if you're on a bus or on a train, can you try and have a conversation with someone and take the first step with that as well? Put yourself out of the comfort zone a little bit, I would suggest as well.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, with the mobile phones now, with short attention span, you know, obviously with something called Reels. I'm sure you've heard about it. And
Yeah.
it's just 5-10 second videos, brain rot, things like that. That's affecting a lot of not just footballers but people in general. So, with your PFA kind of work, how you do the Zoom meetings and things like that, it helps kind of speak to older people, people that you could learn something from. So, are you obviously going to continue doing that when the 5 years runs out? Are you going to switch things up, or?
Yeah, so again, we've got luckily we've got some really good experienced players. Like I said, Danny Bath, Mal Benning, Otis Khan, obviously Zesh, and Udin. So we've got like a players board sort of type. So I'll speak to all the players again individually, show them the impact from the current work, and ask them and ask the young players and the families what they want, what more support do they need to help forge a career in the game. But I think a lot of I call it AIM cycle, like my work in terms of going around, meeting the players, doing the group events, the mentoring, the networking, the stakeholder networks. A lot of that will remain, doing the events, like getting the players together at least once or twice a year, which is really impactful. But yeah, we just need more players in the system, ultimately. We need more players playing out under 9s and the 10s, and hopefully then players will come through into the youth teams and into the first teams as well. So until you get those numbers there, that could take 10, 15 years. But the PFA's focus and my focus is for those kids who come in and sign for the clubs at the moment.
Yeah, and you've been obviously all over the country. Have you been everywhere across the world, United Kingdom, or?
Nah, to be honest with you, I want to take over the whole world. Like I said, I'm ambitious myself, so obviously through aims, like I will go wherever the players are, whether they're playing for a team in Sunderland, whether they're playing for a team down in Plymouth, or if they're on loan in Scotland. Like, I will try and go and watch a game, catch up with them, catch up with their parents. So like I said, I don't care whether you play for Man United or whether you play for Leyton Orient, you'll get the same level of support. If you want advice, guidance, I'm gonna be there as well. But I do a lot of work with like the community trust as well to help clubs to better engage with the South Asian communities. Obviously, I've not been to other parts of the world to do this sort of work, but obviously I've travelled a bit through Zesh. So when he was in Hong Kong, Malaysia, Thailand, I used to go out there, watch a lot of the games. But yeah, I'd love to get AIMS, the programme itself. I think it's something which could be delivered and should be in place at other clubs, other associations, because like I said earlier on as well, everyone needs a support network, everyone needs good mentors, and wherever you go through in life, there's someone who's any stumbling block you're going to come across, the chances are someone's been through it. So again, it just helps quicken up everyone's learning in the game, and then speeding up their learning ultimately.
That's good. And you've obviously been to a lot of stadiums. Like you said, you've been Sunderland, Manchester, Leyton Orient. Where's been the kind of favourite stadium that you went to and the best football experience you've had?
Well, lots of stadiums, lots of training grounds. Like when I get that question, I get a mind freeze every time I ask that question. But I feel like St James's Park is amazing. I think the Emirates Stadium is amazing, but the best one is probably Villa Park, because that's my team. So we've got and the training ground's amazing at Villa as well. I remember being when Zesh trialled there when he was young, Bodymore Heath. It's still there. I remember going in and hardly have any access, but now I've been into the first team train, the academy system. So there's lots of, like I said, the resources in the Premier League now. It's amazing. The technology, the food's always nice. There's also certain clubs I try and go in, whether it's lunchtime. I know they do nice lunches, so I arrange my meetings around lunchtime as well, but no joking. But now it's, whether it's Scotland, been to Rangers, nice stadium, nice atmosphere, but a really good atmosphere is probably Fratton Park at Portsmouth on a Saturday. I don't think you can beat a base there in Fratton Park. When it's rocking, that place is rocking. Yeah. So that's a good one.
Big fan base there.
Yeah, massive fan base. So hopefully they'll do well this season, just stay in the league.
Yeah, and obviously I've had my football experiences because obviously with the NH2 channel I try and go to kind of local clubs and wait for the players after. I've done that at university, so at Loughborough, Nottingham, the under-21s. Do you know anyone from the Nottingham club? Any Asian players or?
What, Nottingham Forest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Young
couple.
lad there, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously under-21s they play at my university, so I wait after, and then I give them kind of my business card or whatever, explain things, and I've got a couple yeses from it. But I've been to a lot of football games, and kind of the atmosphere that I like the most is kind of the lower leagues, so the grassroots. So I went to Hampton Richmond, for example, obviously very local here.
Yeah.
And the players very nice. They spoke to me. The fans are funny. There was a FA Cup like last week or something, and they came all the way from Newcastle, some fans, and they were jumping. It's 3 degrees. They were shirtless, jumping in the stands and everything. And obviously, the question is for you with grassroots football: do you prefer it over kind of the higher leagues because you can see players rise up through? Or
Yeah, I probably watch more. So obviously I'll follow Portsmouth quite a lot with Zesh being a coach there. I'll travel the country watching Portsmouth. And when I was in League One last season, I think I travelled to a lot of the games, home and away. And I could probably name you every single Portsmouth player. But if someone said to me, can you name the starting 11 at Arsenal? I probably couldn't. You know, I don't watch that much actually Premier League football unless it's a big game on a weekend when I'm on a Sunday if I'm at home. But during the week, I like to get out and watch, like you said, whether it's Championship, League One, League Two. We've got like some of the players on Ames who are now playing in Step 3, Step 4, so I try and go and watch them play. A lot of our scholars would get loans, so if you're a scholar at one of the clubs, you may get a loan in Step 4, Step 5. So I'll see the different levels of the game, and it's competitive. You know, I think sometimes young players, I think, oh, Step 3, Step 4 is not stuff for me. You know, I should start from the Premier League or Championship. But you need to go down. You need to get the experience. It's like you said, experience what those environments are like, experience what the fan bases are like. Because the chances are, if you're in the Premier League as a young player, you're going to go and have your first loan at a low league club as well. You know, but I think that's where you get the real fans as well. Proper fans, you know, like Pompey, a lot of the fans around Portsmouth, they live in Portsmouth, live in and around Portsmouth. As I say, so if you walk around the city, everyone's in blue shirts. It's an amazing fan base. And you do see that the lower league clubs, a lot of their fan bases are local, where I think the big Premier League clubs, it's worldwide, isn't it? You know, it's more of a business model rather than for the fans living in and around the area.
Yeah, with lower leagues, they're more kind of close-knit and...
Yeah, it's
like
probably more
unit.
affordable.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
you know, tickets are more affordable for the Premier League. I'm not sure how much Premier League tickets cost. I know it's always in the media quite a lot, but it's not cheap for a family of four. Let's say you could easily spend £500 on a match day, or you could probably go to a Championship game or a League One game for less than probably £100. You know?
Tickets are like 10 or 15 for family tickets.
Yeah.
The Hampton Richmond one was a £5 for the child ticket, and one of the players actually offered to get me a ticket. So that just shows how much, you know, they care about the fans, people that come and watch.
Yeah, and a lot of the players start there. A lot of the England players have started in the lower leagues. You know, so I think the FA Cup this weekend's been really good for that. Obviously, you're watching Tamworth versus Spurs today, and you know, you see the Tamworth fans. There's no hardly any seating there. They're standing up. What football's like back in the day. Everyone is having a good time, supporting the local team. So again, a lot of them fans in that stadium probably could never get an opportunity to watch Spurs play or go to the London Stadium. You know, so again, sorry, White Hart Lane. Where it's White Hart Lane. Well, it's called the Spurs Stadium now.
Back at the 3-point lane, some used to call it.
But you know what I mean. Though going to a Premier League club, it's not cheap.
Yeah, and now let's do some kind of quick fire questions that some people have sent in. So let's read them out. The first one is, who's your kind of all-time favourite football player?
I would say Gaza. I used to love like watching Gaza when I was growing up and just trying to be like him.
Did you like his style of play, his personality?
Yeah, like he's got the ball dribble with it, good personality. You know, he was a bit of a character on the pitch as well. I think he had a great England career. So he's scoring the goals in the Euros. So again, the Euros really like hit home for me for football, which was what Euro 96 that was.
Yeah, and the second one is, what's the best football match you've ever watched live or on TV?
I think the best game was probably Man United versus Bayern Munich in the Champions League final. When Man United are 1-0 down, the last 2 minutes, and they scored 2 goals, which was a brilliant game. And also, again, talking about Champions League, Liverpool versus AC Milan.
2005.
When they're 3-0 down and 3-3, then won the game. Best game ever.
I wasn't even walking back then, but I've watched the highlights of it. 3-0 down to penalties. And the next one is, what's the favourite football stadium you visited? We've asked that already, but do you have, like, if you had to choose one, what would it be?
Villa Park.
Villa Park.
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
Good. And if you could change, this is a bit of big question, but if you can change one thing about football today, what would it be?
I think one thing I changed about football, just making it more inclusive. You know what I mean? Just seeing better representation on the pitch, off the pitch, coaching, fan base, and making it more affordable as well for people to go out and watch games. And I like to make players more accessible to the community. I think sometimes people can never get close to players, obviously, for a number of different reasons. So maybe more players going out in the community, doing more stuff, whether you're a top Premier League player, whatever league you're playing in, like just remembering that you were there as a young person as well. So I like to see more players actually going out in the community a bit more.
Has that happened to you when you were younger?
Yeah, I should love it. If I was a young kid and I remember being 8 or 9, you see someone with, I don't know, from Villa and they've got the Villa kit on, it just inspires you. I think sometimes like we really like put the players in cotton wool. We just need to really it's just normal people. They're just people, and then I think so. I do think that's important, getting them out in primary schools, secondary schools, doing talks, sharing their journeys. I think that would really inspire people.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking about inspiration as well, when you were growing up, as a footballer and as a student as well, what was the best piece of advice you ever received from someone?
Yeah, I think the best advice, I think what I said to you earlier, was just whatever your dream is, go and make it happen. Because no one, like I said, no one's going to do it for you. If you've got an ambition, dream to, like I said, work in the game, run a program, or whether you want to work for a club, it can happen. Maybe you're going to go work abroad. So never give up and just believe that it can happen. And once you start seeing that in your head that it can happen, it will happen.
Once you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to keep on going.
Yeah.
And what's a book, movie or quote that's inspired you?
So there's probably like 2 quotes, like day by day. So basically and then also like embrace every moment. And I'll probably use that quite a lot, so it's probably going to be a bit stiff for that. But yeah, I think I do live by that a little bit, to be fair. Just day by day, not putting too much pressure on yourself. Not thinking too far ahead, but good to have goals and trying to work towards them. But if you get any setbacks, don't dwell on them too much. Not really been a big book reader, but I think watching films like Coach Carter,
that's a good one,
it feels a lot like watching back, and then they're really good. I like watching a lot of war films as well and learning from them and strategies. So I'm quite boring sometimes. I just don't change much, But yeah, for me, that's more the quotes, and I'll get my inspiration from some of the older films, and like I said, watching war films as well. It always interests me.
Yeah, and Coach Carter as well. I remember watching it a while back, and it's kind of related to what you preach as well with kind of sport. Obviously, with him it was basketball, and they also had to achieve their grades and everything. I think it was a C average or however much he said in the movie. So that applies to you as well. Kind of your sport and your studies. You got to keep both up, because if basketball or football doesn't work out, you've got something to lean back on, which what we're talking about.
Yeah, we did that when we were younger. Me and Zesh, if we didn't do our education, my dad wouldn't let us play. He wouldn't actually let us out of the house if we didn't do homework or whether it was learn math timetable, whatever it was. If he would actually set us homework as well, away from school. If we didn't do my dad's homework, we weren't going out. We would sit there crying if we didn't get it done.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Yeah, you had to get it done to see light. And you often talk about kind of young players being trailblazers. You use that word a lot. What's your message to kind of footballers who are against the odds and want to make it?
I think the message to all players is really just give your best every day. There's going to be setbacks, there's going to be stumbling blocks, there's going to be hurdles in front of you. You got find a way to go over, under, or through them. And that's what we've done. That's what I've done throughout my career. And I think people say I talk about Zesh quite a lot, but I've seen Zesh do that as well. So whatever that stumbling block is, don't let it deter you. You have the vision, you have the goals, you're good enough. It can happen, but your journey to the top may be different than someone else's. Don't only look sideways for inspiration, but just really focus on your own journey and yourself.
That's good. Only look sideways. I like that one. And with obviously the Ames vision and working at the PFA, and with Zesh doing his coaching and PFA stuff as well, what's kind of where do you see yourself in kind of 5, 6, 7 years in your career?
Good question, mate. To be honest with you, like right now, obviously I'll give my age away, but I'm 42, full up, so trying to keep myself fit. You know, I'm quite active in terms of what I do. You know, to travel here and travel there, different clubs every day. Like next week, I'm at 4 or 5 different clubs, so I feel quite proactive, and I love doing what I'm doing. In the future, I'd like to grow the AIMS program. We have a team of others like myself doing similar work, and in the future, I'd like to go in maybe some sort of leadership position. You know, running programs like this or working with other clubs and union and stakeholders, helping them to set up their sort of mentoring programs. And, you know, giving back and helping has always been like probably something we've been, one of my values, obviously, and then also something which my parents always, like myself and Zesh, like put into us from a very young age. You know, not just helping yourself, but also helping others as well.
Yeah, and obviously I'm guessing you get a lot of, you know, a feeling of reward and satisfaction giving back to those that are going through what you went through when you were younger.
I think I don't really even do it for rewards. I think for me, and you know, like just seeing someone doing well, like it gives me great feeling when I've seen Anthony studying full time. I know he's happy, you know, or seeing someone transition and make a first team debut, or you know, someone do whatever they're doing in life and they've come out of the game. As long as they're content, they know that we've sort of done our work. What we don't want is, like, I'm just driving that if a player does come out of the game, like they're in a good place, you know. But we have obviously our welfare support, the PFA and different sports for players if they do go through difficult times. But I just want to try and make sure that everyone's in a good place, you know, in society, in life. There's lots and lots of distractions for young people, so it's just helping them to focus their mind, making people realise ultimately that you're only on this earth for a small time. You know, so you've got to try and make the most of it.
Make it count.
Not get too carried away with successes, not get too down when things aren't going your way, just sort of like finding that middle ground and just being a good person ultimately.
It's true. And obviously it's been a pleasure speaking to you. And for the last kind of question is, for anyone listening, you know, whether they're in football or not, what's one thing you want them to take out of this episode today?
Yeah, I think the most thing I'd like to take out from this episode is just having the fight, you know, and then don't be afraid of any obstacles that in front of you. Don't get too down if you feel like you can't do it. Stay positive, because if you've got a dream, if you've got a vision, then you can do it. And I think myself and my brother were living proof of that. We grew up in the council estate in Birmingham, told that we would never make it in the game. So for me to working for one of the biggest stakeholders, unions in the country, in the world actually, and seeing Zesh where he is, it just shows you that if we can do it, then so can you. Yeah.
That's a great final message. Riz, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
It's been a pleasure having you, hearing your story. Anything you want to say to the fans, to the viewers?
I don't think I've got fans out there, but honestly, I think what you're doing, like this thing's a good platform. You know, you're living proof of someone who's obviously ambitious. You know, you make things happen, you're connecting with people. So I wish you well with your podcast and in the future.
Cheers.
At university.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
We'll wrap up. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two, because the people I bring on, I want you guys to learn something from them and take something out of their journey and apply it to your lives. So thank you for watching. Show some support, obviously, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Always. We know Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.